So we'll talk a little bit about that now and some other issues too. This morning we saw the new Labour leader Andrew Little on Q&A, so we'll be discussing that. And joining us are his MPs Kelvin Davis and Peeni Henare, along with our political commentator Willie Jackson Tēnā koutou. Let's start with you, Peeni. We just saw the story about Ngāpuhi. What's your feeling about this? Are they being railroaded into a settlement?
Yes, and I think that's been the stance of Ngāti Hine and indeed other hapu over some number of years now. It's not that they're fully against settlement. In fact, we all know the benefits that can come with that and understand that it'll provide a good space post all of this stuff.
The argument is over the structure going forward into that process.
Yes,
Is it right?
I'd argue it isn't, because I don't feel that the representation is fair enough. I do acknowledge that there are some people on there who, me personally, I wouldn't support to be on there in such an important issue and such an important thing going forward for Ngāpuhi.
Chris Finlayson says, Kelvin, that if Ngāpuhi could just put their differences aside, they'd get a fair and just settlement. What do you think?
Well, I think everybody's after a fair and just settlement and everyone's after a speedy settlement, but it's the structure and how does that look like, because the last thing we want is to be blowing any quantum fighting amongst ourselves in court after it. So, you know, we really need to get the sides sitting down and working it out together. In fact, someone said a couple of years back we should just lock them all in a room and tell them to come out when they've sorted out the differences.
What do you reckon, Willie? Do you reckon that would be a way to go?
It's amazing. These two fellas get on. I mean, you know. Ngāpuhi, you know, is Shane Jones always talks about it. It's, you know, it's. I suppose that they're very busy. He says at times it's volatile. I mean, up there in Ngāti Hine and Ngāpuhi, you've got two brother-in-laws against each other. You know, in terms of Wasi Shortland and Sunny.
And they both acknowledge it, yet neither is willing to back down.
No, that's right. So it's a real tough one for the Crown, because the Crown is saying Sunny and them have the mandate, but Pita Tipene has been a great kai kōrero, a great spokesman for his people up there. So, you know, they're working through it, and these sort of fellas can be a great help.
So there's going to be a hearing with the tribunal. What do you expect to come out of that?
Well, you know, the tribunal can come out with a number of things, and the government chooses to ignore or implement. Last week they came out with a great recommendation with regards to our sovereignty and rangatiratanga, and it wasn't just a Ngāpuhi kaupapa, that's a kaupapa for all of Te Ao Māori, and it was fabulous, really, and then Finlayson walked all over it. So it just depends how the government treats it.
So what do you think is going to happen with Ngāpuhi then? Do you think it's just going to be a case of, well, everyone's going to argue, but basically we're going to go ahead with this settlement process and it will be with tūhoronuku?
Well, it appears it's going to be the case that it is going to be pushed through, and you know, it makes it awkward, because the last thing we want is Ngāpuhi divided for generations to come. But then again, we've got so many social issues up there and so many needs that we actually do need to actually progress. So, you know, it's been a dicey issue for a number of years now, and you know, like I say, maybe lock everyone in a room until they've sorted it out. It's
a hard one, though, for any government, whether it's National or Labour, because the settlement process has always been flawed, but it's the sort of best thing we've got, you know. So you call people to the hui, some don't turn up. What do? You've got great kai kōrero with Sunny Tau, you've got a great kai kōrero with Pita Tipene, and if you sit back, you can go to the back of the queue. That's the problem, isn't it, Penny?
That's exactly right.
So, and speaking of tensions, well, we've got tensions in Matodi Bay, as we saw with the story with the teacher. What did you make of that story, Kelvin?
Well, it raises a really important issue around social media and teachers. I think the story there, it didn't pass the OO test. There was there was some things there that was said that.
What's the OO test?
Oh, it's just like you read it and you go, oh, as a former teacher, I just would not have gone there, would not have said those things. You know, so social media and teachers, we have to be really careful. It also raises the issue about Māori teachers in particular, how we sort of not sure whether we're teachers first or whether we're auntie and uncle first, and you know, that whole pastoral care and support is really important, but at the same time, if we're a profession, then we need to be professional, and there's some lines that we shouldn't cross, and I think that a line was crossed. You know, it was poor judgment in terms of some of the things that were written there, and you know, it's something that we have to really look at as educators, and maybe just a few protocols in terms of you know, what's appropriate and inappropriate when it comes to social media.
And perhaps it makes it even harder when you're in a small community, Peony.
Yes, most certainly. And yeah, everyone knows everyone. Calvin's already said the lines between auntie, uncle, principal and teacher, you know, they're blurred at best. But yeah, more awhi, more support from whānau. The more our whānau engages with schools, and this is this issue to the side, there's a wider issue around some other things around the school about how schools are run. And especially in those smaller Māori communities where you struggle to get a board together. And that's the honest truth. Or if you do get a board together, their auntie and uncle who probably aren't best equipped to deal with the administration and the running of a school.
It's a huge issue that you've raised there. And I mean, how do you reconcile that? How do you solve that?
That's a good question. Getting more people involved. I know they've put out things that will allow Māori communities, and well, any community really, to be upskilled in those areas, and it's going to take some time.